if we regard the young child as a scientist, as an investigator, going in search of knowledge, our job then, if we're to set up the educational program for young children, is to really think in terms of how do we prepare contexts for learning? How do we prepare a setting that allows the children to encounter something new, to take what they already know, but then encounter it in a surprising new way, for example, or to take what they already know and then have the opportunity to be challenged by using it with a different set of materials. So there should be no universal curriculum that everyone follows, because there are many, many possible routes that one could take to effectively, successfully travel with the children from the preschool years into the next years of school. Curriculum planning has stages. We observe, we reflect, we document, we interpret, and that leads us to what possibilities do we offer next for the children to continue their work, to go deeper in their thinking, to explore more possibilities. So the process is almost cyclical, because then we're going to create a new context, and then from that context, we're going to observe, we're going to document, we're going to interpret what we see and share that with others.
And he took the garage and he took...
The only way that you can really teach is through your observation and taking time to reflect upon that. Watching the children, they're telling us what they want to learn, what they already know, how we can build upon what they know.
You want me to open it? Am I the sun?
Yeah.
Then what planet are you?
Mercury.
You're Mercury?
Preparing ourselves as teachers to truly focus our attention and to listen with care to how children are making sense of an experience is the first step. And when we do that, then we hold memory of significant things that we see. And it's that holding in memory that is a step that we call documentation. How do I keep a note? How do I take a photo, maybe take a video clip of a few moments of play that allows me to document or hold in memory what children are doing, so that I can look at it, think about it, reflect on it later, but also so that I can share it with others. And sometimes those others are my colleagues, but also sometimes it's the children in my classroom.
To be able to create assessment portfolios that we can discuss in staff meetings. We'll take a lot of photographs of children using materials, interacting with their peers. We'll collect work samples and anecdotal records so that we can really ascertain the pieces of the puzzle. We will use a lot of those observations, the work samples, to create documentation boards so parents can see the learning goals and objectives and the actual photographs and work samples.
How are children showing us that they are achieving the concepts and skills? And the best way for us to do that is to make sure that when we observe, document, and we reflect, we also create time for teachers to be in conversation around how are children revealing their thinking? How are children progressing?
And then what we could do with him in the class is offer more fine motor activities, like you said, the Play-Doh, and maybe we'll offer him the adaptive, the
reflective dialogue is part of the curriculum planning process, and we need to be mindful of how do we make room for that time? How do we value that time? And look at the way we schedule the day for teachers. How do we schedule the work week for teachers so that there is an opportunity for teachers to be in discussion around the documentation that we have of children revealing their thinking. Each child's curriculum journey will be different. Having said that, then, I'm organizing contexts for learning for my whole group of children. So I'm also planning for the group of children. So I'm always working at two levels. With respect to the individualized planning for a child, I think it's most relevant when we think of what are those aspects of learning that I can offer that child that will support that child in learning alongside other children within the play environment.
¿Y qué está haciendo el capullo?
Ahorita se está saliendo.
¿Quién se está saliendo?
La mariposita.
As we approach the idea of how do we think about curriculum, how do we think about learning environments for young children, and we add in the fact that we have multiple languages in our classroom spoken by the families as their home language, and we have multiple cultural contexts that we're working with, it's an invitation to then begin to ask, so how does that inform our curriculum?
Chopsticks.
Yes,
You want
can use
juke?
chopsticks.
You want
You and son, do you want some noodles or juk?
I'm really good at chopsticks. Watch me.
How do we give value to the fact that we have this rich pool of diverse communities to pull from in order to chart what the course of curriculum is going to look like in our program?
in a few weeks we're gonna have a pumpkin patch right over there. Do you see where the gate is? So I figured we could use hay on the ground over there. And then it wouldn't be dirty. Uh-huh. But we gotta move this bale of hay from here to over there.
I know how we can move it. We have to push it all the way from here. We push it all the way there, and then we go to gate.
Okay.
Our curriculum tends to be project-based, and the way that we become informed about what to plan comes through the children and our families. And being observers, understanding that children's play renders valuable information for us.
I know.
What?
Idea. We should get a bigger bite.
A bigger bite. What big bite?
It can be. It has to be huge. How about this bite?
Okay, bring it over. Let's see if we can figure out how to lift it on that bite.
Mama,
Bale of hay.
I know. We have to cut some hay, and then we can put it on one bite.
We can cut the hay?
Yeah, we can put it on this bite and that bite.
Okay. Oh. Now that's an interesting idea. If we cut it in half, it won't be as heavy.
Now, Teacher Karen.
Yeah, how are we going to cut this?
Now I know a knife. I know a knife.
Help us solve this problem.
I know a knife.
What kind of knife would be good?
A sharp knife.
Except you guys can't use sharp knives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but teachers can.
Okay.
The way children see the world and the way the project unfolds, those experiences that we plan, the learning that comes out of it is very creative. Children make connections in ways we wouldn't even think of ourselves.
I need a plate. You need a plate, okay. Yeah. For my bean. Here's honey.
The environment, the classroom environment, is another teacher.
Yummy.
So we put a huge amount of thinking behind what is the environment teaching here? Is there adequate materials? Is there too much? Is it too distracting? Is it inviting?
Yellow?
Some yellow blocks.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
It is getting bigger and bigger.
It's important that in setting up these environments for learning for young children that we adopt an attitude of not knowing what the children are going to do precisely, or not expecting one right way of playing in those play spaces, because there is no one right way. But what we know we've been successful as teachers if we have children who are deeply engaged in play and if they are using the materials well.
I'm going to build a robot.
A robot?
The critical piece is how to create play spaces that hold materials, that invite children to discover the relationships among objects, to use materials in ways that even as teachers we may not have known that they might do, to open up possibilities for children to explore, investigate, to research the potential connections that exist between the organization of materials that the teachers have chosen to put in that play space.
Boats live in rivers.
As we think about the learning environment, I think we tend to just think about inside the walls of a classroom, but the reality is the learning environment that exists inside a classroom can actually be mirrored in the outdoor environment.
Yeah, look.
How many gutters did it hit?
Teacher.
And whether we're talking about infants, toddlers, preschool, or school age, the outdoor environment is more than just a yard for large muscle development. It's a place where we can enjoy books. It's a place where we can have conversations around stories.
Where should we hang our bird feeder, Serena?
It's a place where we can explore the creatures who live in the bushes and under the rocks.
Look, he's eating off your bird feeder.
She's eating off the birdie feeder.
Yeah.
It's a place where we watch the world of nature transform itself.
Over here and tomato.
It's important that we think about the schedule of the day and that we give children ample time to work in those play spaces so that they can truly invent problems, go in search of solutions to those problems, develop scripts, play out those scripts, and do so in an uninterrupted way.
For us, curriculum is everything that happens in the day. It includes thinking about the daily schedule to make sure we have a balance of small group times and large group times.
I can just lay down by myself.
And blocks of uninterrupted time for children to explore and initiate their own activities.
You each other killed the dragons. Okay, if you open the door.
We look at classroom routines as learning opportunities.
The daily rituals that happen around arrivals and departures and transitions and hand washing and meals and naps and toileting or diapering, all of those routines become opportunities for children to use their emerging skills in an engaging way, inviting them to participate in the experience as active meaning makers.
No, that's the same.
In thinking about planning and implementing a program that supports the development of children in all areas, we want to be sure we're looking at what's really developmentally appropriate, what's age appropriate for the ages of the children enrolled, our older toddlers, our preschoolers that are 3, and our children who are pre-K age and going to enter kindergarten.
I found my age! I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it.
And the individualized piece where we are planning what excites children, what helps them, what engages them.
You told me you didn't know how to do an egg. That's perfect.
All that we do in the program to foster children's development across all domains.
We will use one-on-one interactions, we will use small group types of lessons, and large groups also. And it's important for a teacher to reflect upon herself and see how she needs to adapt the curriculum according to the needs of the child. It's important for her to recognize that there are all types of learners, all types of students. Every child is unique.
And when we think about curriculum, it makes sense to view curriculum in an integrated way. So if I think about how do I create engaging learning environments for young children.
Why do you have to connect them?
Because I need to make 2 windows.
Okay.
I bring two. One big and one small.
Indeed, I may have a block area, and in that block area, children are going to explore concepts of spatial relations, concepts of number. They're going to talk story.
This is the V. He's going to be the prince. Then he's going to go in the princess land too, right? He's going to go with Q and Ava.
And they are going to negotiate who does what when. So in a moment of play, children have now taken us through a journey through each of the domains of learning. So play really is the vehicle that allows us to integrate the curriculum, because children within play are going to effectively accomplish language, cognitive, social, emotional, physical development, all wrapped into one.
We look for teachers who are really open and trusting in the play-based model and really can follow children's lead and build upon the child's lead. And we really need the teacher to engage thoughtfully with the children in their play and actually enter into the play.
The bib on the baby, just like you wear a bib, huh?
And so I'm going to create a context rather than an activity. And that context is a play-based context in which I can offer some possibilities. In the back of a teacher's mind are the concepts and skills that I know children are in the process of making sense of with respect to science, with respect to math, with respect to language, literacy, social understanding. So as I set up a meaningful context for children to engage in figuring something out, I'm aware of the possibility that children may reveal their thinking around some of these concepts and skills. And it is really up to me to then observe that. And if I see an emerging concept or a concept that is making itself visible or a skill that I think I hadn't seen that there before, that's significant to me as a teacher.
Uninterrupted time.
Want some tea? Thanks. And put some tea in our here. Thanks.
To explore and discover is a great time for us to be actively involved as educators, to really seize those opportunities where children are engaging in child-initiated play, to promote learning, to really facilitate learning, to ask open-ended questions that will challenge their thinking.
Teacher, I'm going to the restaurant.
Okay, what do you have in your restaurant?
I need to be able to really be with that child in a context that allows me to truly listen and have a conversation or be in conversation with a smaller group of children.
Hice la reina.
Only when we create a context for teachers to be in conversation with small groups of children engaged in a meaningful project or a meaningful conversation will children truly get a chance to reveal to us their ideas.
La comida del cangrejo ermitaño.
¿Y qué comen los cangrejos ermitaños?
How do we use our moments of conversation or interaction with children as opportunities to help them make meaning?
Creo que igual que los pescados.
¿Y qué es lo que comen los pescados?
Comida de pescado.
¿Pero de qué está hecha esta comida? A pensar, tal vez, ¿qué hay en el mar para comer?
Ah, yo sé que algas.
¿Algas puede ser?
We need more track.
For example, what happens when two children don't get along, when there's a conflict in an effort to get a coveted toy?
The old tag has to make a new one.
You want to break up the old track and make a new one?
No!
Lucas is saying no. I'm going to hold on to these pieces. What are we going to do? You both want to build a track. but Lucas is wanting the old track and Joe's saying he wants a new track. How are we going to solve our problem, Lucas? What can we do? Do you have any ideas?
I'm gonna make that track again.
You want to make that track again. And Joe, what do you think? Would you like to make that track again?
I want to make a new track.
Joe's saying he'd like to make a new track.
That is an opportunity for experiencing what does it mean to negotiate a solution with someone in a way that's not hurtful to someone else. So the conversations around guidance and discipline then become opportunities for curriculum. So those three components, the learning environments, the routines of the day, the conversations and interactions, those become a broad definition for curriculum and a broad definition for teaching and learning that happens throughout the day.